my name's Tatiana Moroz. I'm a singer-songwriter, but I've also found myself at the cross-section of financial technology and the arts. And today I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about how cryptocurrencies and art can come together and help the world in a really impactful way. So we're going to talk about the power of art. And I think that the best way to sort of explain my passions is to give you a little bit of background on my story. I think my life story, maybe not my life story, but my blockchain story is something that hopefully people can kind of, I don't know, come with me on the journey for. So I grew up in New Jersey, and for me, music was a part of my life very early on. I always knew that I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and I was trained very well by my mom with the 60s and 70s singer-songwriter music. You know, she would always play it for us in the car. And I remember listening to the song Peace Train and thinking, by Cat Stevens, and thinking, wow, you can use music to convey an idea. And I knew about the impact that the bands of that era had on their, basically on the country, you know, and on the culture, and they really shifted the culture a lot. So I thought, that's what I want to do. I was always really interested in the way that mankind is organized and, you know, what system is the best. I remember going to my mom and saying, you know, why don't we all just put our money into a pile and everybody can take what they need and it should be fine. And she says, no, Tanya, that's communism and it doesn't work. So she was from Poland, so I feel like she kind of knows what she's talking about. So I went back to the drawing board, and unfortunately, my own generation didn't really have a lot of messages in their music. It was sort of, you know, we didn't really have any kind of a revolution for our era. But I was reading a lot of dystopian novels like 1984, Brave New World, and I got a little bit concerned about some of these dystopian nightmares that could happen in the future. So kind of percolated in the back of my mind. After I went to college at Berklee College of Music in Boston, I moved back to New York, and I soon started working at a variety of different recording studios, major studios all around New York. And it was a really great environment, but what I saw was there were a lot of artists that were getting funding that were not necessarily great artists. And I certainly wasn't hearing any kind of a deep message. And I started to think, you know, why is that? I promoted and put out 2 albums independently. First, my debut album, Tatiana, my subsequent second follow-up record, Love and Liberty. And around the time that I put in Love and Liberty, of course, you may have guessed, I got really interested in libertarianism. In 2011, I found out about the Federal Reserve. And previous to that, I had really liked Dennis Kucinich in 2008. And I had heard about Ron Paul, but I just didn't understand who wouldn't like the EPA or who wouldn't want universal health care. Doesn't this guy care about people's health? So back to 2011, when I found out about the Federal Reserve, to me, that was the aha moment. And it was the thing that woke me up. It got me to think about, you know, how the power structure is really able to remain in power. So I went all around the country. I was singing all these peace songs for thousands and thousands of people around the world, or well, around the country anyway at that point. And it was really, really invigorating. But despite all of our best efforts and how many people had put, you know, from the left, from the right, put so much of their effort and hard-earned money into the Ron Paul campaign, to see the RNC break their own rules in order to keep him out completely destroyed my faith in the government's ability to even follow its own rules. So I was like, okay, politics is not going to work. And it's also very divisive. If you guys are out there and are not libertarian, you're probably thinking, oh, libertarians. But I think that there's a lot of things that we all have in common as an artist, right? That's my goal, is to bring people together. So 2012, August, I got sponsored by BitPay. And so Tony Galippi and Stephen Pear were kind enough to sponsor me at a conference down in Tampa. And then they came up to New York afterward when I was all depressed about the death of America and the electoral system. And they came up and they talked to me about Bitcoin. And I hate finance. I hate technology. I think I offend my finance friends by telling them how much I hate finance. But you know, I bought some Bitcoins anyway after they told me about it for 3 hours, and I bought it at $11. So when it got to about $100 a coin, I became a lot more interested. Imagine that. And I thought to myself, you know, okay, how do I find out more about this? So I was driving with Jeffrey Tucker, who's a really famous libertarian speaker. He's at the Foundation for Economic Education Fee, which is a great organization. And the way that Jeffrey taught me about blockchain and Bitcoin, actually it was only Bitcoin at that point, was to make me imagine what a world would look like. He didn't bog me down with the technical details. Because remember, I hated the Federal Reserve. They're my arch enemy. And I still didn't understand why I needed Bitcoin. But when I started thinking about the global impact, I realized that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies really fulfilled my life, which is to help humanity. When I think of music, I think of it as a unifying factor. I think of it as the most strong, shoot, I wish I brought my guitar, I would have played you guys a song. I think of it as one of the most strong powers in the world, but you know, I decided to use that power for good, and I wrote a Bitcoin jingle because I thought, yeah, it's kind of hard to understand what this is about, but maybe if people hear it with some music, they're going to get into it. So I'm going to just sing it for you guys a cappella. I don't have my guitar, but I'll just sing a little piece of it so you have it. It's, I didn't want to give any of my money to a nation based on war. I wanted to be free, nothing holding me back from where I want to go. I thought about it, what was the choice that I made? It was to take away the money, don't give up your money, use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. I didn't want to waste any of my time working for the government. I wanted to be kind, open up my mind, just like an instrument. I thought about it, what was the choice that I made? It was to take away the money, don't give up your money, use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Ooh, what a little crypto can do. No longer a slave. I don't have to work until the grave. So many times I cried to myself that we didn't have a chance. Nakamoto came along with more than a song, gave the labor back to man. I thought about it, what was the choice that I made? It was to take away the money, don't give up your money, use Bitcoin whenever you pay. Use Bitcoin whenever you pay. So that's the song. Hope you guys liked it. It wasn't with the guitar. I see some really nice comments in the room, so that's really fun always. And so that was it, right? I wanted to have a jingle which was catchy and people would remember it. But if you, like, the reason why I did the whole song and not just a little portion is because I hope that you guys listen to the lyrics. They're actually pretty subversive. And I think that the reason that so many people were really responsive is because I captured that ethos, that spirit that drove the initial cryptocurrency community. Yeah, there were people from the left and there were people from the right, but there was a really unified vision of freedom and opportunity that really brought us together with Bitcoin. So then I became friends with Andreas Antonopoulos because after I sang the Bitcoin jingle, I sang a song by Bob Dylan called Masters of War. If you guys want to check out my version online, it's actually a really cool recording. And so me and Andreas, we bonded because we're both really anti-war. And he was doing Let's Talk Bitcoin with Adam B. Levine, which some of you have listened to the Let's Talk Bitcoin podcast. And Adam and I became friends. We'd already met before, but I think Andreas really solidified that friendship. And I went out to Napa to visit him, and we started talking about music and what could cryptocurrency do for the music space. What I had noticed was that there were no more anti-war songs, right? Isn't that a little odd? We're at war for 20 years. What, all the artists are just super into blowing people up now? Obviously not. But I believe that the reason that we don't have these challenging messages is because you have a music industry that's a little bit like a cartel. And to a certain extent, I understand their position, because when you put out a new artist, right, you need to make sure that your investment is covered. And it's extremely expensive to break an artist. I mean, I'm talking $2-3 million marketing budgets for a song. It's bananas. So they have to make sure that the artist that they choose is going to be profitable. But then what ends up happening is that you end up stifling art. And then you get a million Britney Spears and no Cat Stevens. And as much as I like to, you know, listen to some dance music while I'm at the gym, it doesn't really feed my soul. And looking at the world around us right now, we need our souls fed. I mean, things are pretty great in certain ways, but also very disturbing in other ways. And as an artist that was so influenced by not only music, but also literature, in terms of shaping who I became, I realized that, to me at least, that was really important. And Adam had a similar view, at least in terms of liberating artists. So we decided to make the first ever artist cryptocurrency. So we built it on Counterparty. At first we were going to do Mastercoin, and Ethereum wasn't ready yet. They had just launched, because this was around April or May of 2014. So we decided to use Counterparty, great team over there. We built a token, and we raised $10,000 in order to fund my third record, which is great. Except that, you know, people were like telling me, you know, we were talking about Tatiana Coin. I'm like, I'm going to be a pioneer. What people don't tell you about being a pioneer, by the way, is that it's horrible. You have to do everything yourself. You have to suffer in the cold. You have to figure out technology. And so it's been a really big learning experience for me, and a growing experience, because when we built the coin, I thought, okay, so now people can message with me and we could do all these things and interact. No, you cannot do that, because these things weren't built yet. So what me and Adam figured out was, okay, well, who will build the roads? And we thought, well, I guess it's us. So Adam started a company called Tokenly. You guys can check them out online. And we basically set out to build the roads for not only Tatiana Coin, but he had an experimental project called LTB Coin, which was for Let's Talk Bitcoin, their network. And it was a way to compensate the fans of the shows, compensate the podcasters, and then loop in advertisers by offering them discounts by if they paid with LTB Coin. We were really, really early to the game. So basically what happened is Adam and the team, they went underground and they started building. Meanwhile, I went into the recording studio and I recorded an album called Keep the Faith. You know, I'm really out of pocket today. I had all this stuff. I've been at this conference, but I wanted to show you guys something, which I'll have to maybe share you a link to it. So if you guys go to my website at TatianaMoroz.com, not right now because I want you to keep listening, but you'll see somewhere a black and white album cover. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that, but I'm going to back it up. So when I got into crypto, I started doing interviews with people, and I had heard about the Silk Road. And I was like, why would anyone buy drugs on the internet? This is stupid. You know, that guy, he seems weird. I wasn't really so interested in the story. But then I met Lynn Ulbricht, who now I count as one of my very best friends. And Lynn and I talked, and I interviewed her about the Silk Road case. And that's when I learned about all the corruption and all of the constitutional issues that were coming up and all of the misinformation in the media. And so I became very passionate about bringing attention to this. But how do you humanize somebody who has drugs in their title, right? Or murder for hire, which incidentally didn't happen, never got charged, never got tried for it. So murder for hire didn't happen. But it was used to malign him. And I thought that that was really problematic. So I wanted to use my skill for the best thing that I knew how to do, which was, drum roll, music. So I wrote a song to humanize the Silk Road. I'll sing you a little bit of it now since everybody seemed to like that. I know it's a cappella, so it feels a little bit weird, but I think lyrically it kind of lures people in, and it humanizes a subject that can be misunderstood. So I'll sing you a little bit about the Silk Road now. There was a man who did the unspoken. He looked for freedom from the violence. No one is perfect when there's new ground broken. A mess is made and someone gets blamed. He had a dream of harmony as we wish to live out our own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. This ain't the movies, there's a war in the streets. The innocent are in jail. We pray for justice and we wanna be free, and hope the truth will prevail. He had a dream of harmony, as you wish to live out your own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. We can't give up, we cannot quit. Don't be afraid. We have a voice, and this is it. Let the light show the way. He had a dream of harmony, as you wish to live out your own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. So, hope that made you cry at least a little bit, because that's the goal, right? Using music and making people feel, not talking about technology, not trying to drill it home on the drug war. I'm trying to start a conversation. So for the new record, that was one of the songs. And along the way, I started visiting Ross in prison, which is crazy, right? I went to the prison. It was horrible. Prison is terrible. All of you guys need to try and follow your local laws, because it's no joke. Ross Ulbricht, for creating a website, even though he was not the drug dealer, and arguably he was not the only DPR, we don't know because the trial was so unfair, they sentenced him to double life plus 40 years for creating a website. If you are a murderer, you have a better chance of getting out of jail sooner than Ross Ulbricht. And it started making me think, you know, why are all these people in prison? And then you start looking at the United States, and the United States is the biggest prison population by far. We have 25% of the world's prison population, but this is supposed to be the land of the free. And we're supposed to have a justice system, but evidence tampering by government agents and their corruption, where they're stealing and have access to digital evidence, is not even admissible in court when sentencing a young man who built a website in his 20s as an idealistic fool. And again, not the only DPR, he's now serving this double life sentence. So this is super scary to me. And when I went to the prison, I saw how many people were there that were there for nonviolent crimes. And when you look at all those statistics, it gets scary. So when I talk about an artist coin, the real crux of it is that artists are not free to have a voice. And art has traditionally pushed back. Look at the 60s and the 70s. The music arguably contributed to one of the biggest shifts in American culture and then subsequent worldwide culture in terms of civil rights, women's rights, all different kinds of things like that. So I wanted to illustrate the importance for the artist's voice, and then I also wanted to bring attention to Ross. So when Ross gave me a drawing of myself, he's an artist as well, that he took, I sent him a picture that Judd Weiss, a great libertarian photographer, took of me, and Ross drew it for me as a birthday present. And he sent that over to me, and I thought, you know what? This is the album cover. Because now when people see that album cover and they see this drawing, they say, oh, that's weird. What's going on? And I'll say, well, I decided to use this album cover because I'm very passionate about freeing Ross, getting justice served in that case, and now subsequently helping to end the drug war, which is destroying families around the world. I mean, millions and millions of people are affected by this on a daily basis, and they don't have a voice. Luckily for Ross, even though you know, he's suffering in prison, and he's such an inspiration to me. We could talk about that later if you guys want. But, you know, Lynn is going out there and she's advocating for him, but also for all the other victims of the drug war that don't necessarily have a voice. So when I talk about artist coins, I like to say, look, the artist coin allowed me to be supported by my core community that has similar values. I didn't have to sell out. I didn't have to, you know, go Harvey Weinstein in order to get ahead. I can simply create my art and have the support of the community that that has similar values, and I can also give them back value in the long term. So now, fast forward to the practical usage of Tatiana Coin, right? So we put out this record in March. That's really cool. We raised a little bit more money for the promotional efforts for the record and stuff like that. And now we've got this really great platform called token.fm. And the guys at Tokenly built it, and basically it allows you to message directly with your fans. It allows you to open up token controlled access. So if you want to do certain types of content and you only want Tatiana Coin holders to hear it, then you can do that. We also experimented with an album token. So what you can do is you as an artist can create a digital album token that becomes almost a finite item. Right now we're in a world of unlimited music, unlimited, but people still want that. In my opinion, I think that they want that thing that says, I was there first, I'm a real fan. They want that kind of something a little bit special, because anybody can listen to Spotify, but how do you prove you're a real Tatiana fan? You have Tatiana coins. And that was also a little bit of my secret, right? I felt, you know, so if you want to get people into cryptocurrency, right? If people have Tatiana coins, I guess they also have a crypto wallet. So that was a little bit of my Trojan horse, because I thought, okay, we've got a lot of technologists, but I don't know if these guys are so good at communicating how great cryptocurrency can be. So if artists can become the new evangelizers for that, that's the ticket, right? So, you know, if you had Taylor Swift, for example, make a Taylor Swift coin, then the next day, Bitcoin would go through the roof because people would be in Bitcoin now all of a sudden. Even though they were only having a little counterparty token, they would have a wallet, and then the jump wouldn't be such a great one into really getting interested in cryptocurrencies. So we built this great platform. It's super cool. You can message with artists. You can do collaborative album tokens. So if me and 5 other artists or 10 other artists wanted to do like a free Ross album coin, what we could do is all the artists would get automatic payments from the sales of that, and that would be like a tradable thing. So people can buy them and maybe give them to other people, and that would be a way for people to learn about Ross and to learn about all the different artists that are on there, and then also, once again, sneak them into crypto. So now we've got this really cool platform. We're able to pay artists 10 to 20 times more than they're getting with typical streaming rates. We're allowing them to change their pricing. So if I put my music out and I put it on iTunes, let's say it's my birthday and I want to put it out a record, I can't just say, oh, we're going to give out albums for $1 a day or whatever. I can't change any of that. But because of the platform that we made, we're giving artists back control over that. And that was really what I was hoping to do. And also, it doesn't need to be for only independent artists. I think major label artists can also take advantage of it. And so, you know, it's been a really neat journey for me, learning about cryptocurrency, even though it is something that I'm unfamiliar with. But I do think that having a fresh mind and somebody who's not technical has actually been a great advantage to the Tokenly team, because I've been sort of, you know, working with them for the past few years, and I'll tell them, I'll say, this doesn't make sense. And for us, what we also did was we made it so if somebody doesn't want to participate in Bitcoin stuff, they don't need to learn about that. So you don't have to call it a coin, you could call it something else, and we've sort of hidden away some of that stuff. But, you know, there's a lot of different innovations happening around the cryptocurrency space. I was just on a panel today. I'm here in Montreal for a Hub Montreal kind of tech conference where they're mixing together music and stuff. And so we had some people from DDEX. We had someone from SOCAN, which is the Canadian ASCAP. We had Yuri, he's got a really cool like watermarking company. And so, you know, there's a lot of different solutions to the problem coming at all different angles. But for me, I think that the artist is first and foremost the one that needs to be empowered, because I don't want to see artist censorship. One of the things that I hated about using social media was, number one, I don't own the relationship. So if I want to leave the platform, for example, when I left MySpace, it's not like I took my MySpace fans. MySpace owns all that data, and they are not giving it to me. So when I went to Facebook, I was all excited, you know, I'm getting all my likes, and I made a little investment with my 4 pennies that I had into advertising. And I thought, okay, well, you know, if I'm investing in getting exposure to my page, then that means in a long term, I'm going to be engaging with those people. But as you guys all know, if you want to reach your Facebook audience, you better pay up, because otherwise you're going to reach 200 people over the course of a month, unless you're paying a lot, even if you have, you know, a fair amount of followers. I don't know, like 6,000 or 7,000, something in that range. So it's not some big account, but when I do a post, 100 people see it. It's ridiculous. So it's like I invested all this time into a platform that in the end, not only doesn't support me, but then they also censor me. And then, you know, you've got the manipulation of emotions, those experiments that they were running on people. That's not okay. So I like to think of cryptocurrency and our project and other projects as a little bit of almost an inversion of some of these great social media tools that we have. But now the ownership is with the artists and the fans. And for example, if I decide that token.fm and the platform, all that, that's, you know, I don't like what they're doing, I can take my coins, i.e. my fans, and leave, because I still have that, you know, I still know their addresses and they're messaging with me and all that. So another problem that we ran into, or one of the big snafus that we've run into that I'm sure a lot of you guys are concerned about, is the SEC, right? And so now we built this massive, awesome platform. It could do all these different things. But we were advised by the attorneys, like, hey, slow your roll, because you might because we've built such a full suite of solutions in one place, that's actually bad. Can you imagine that? We can't do it unless we want to risk a lot of legal expense, which is significant for a startup. And so now we're trying to kind of figure out what the best way is. Do we want to, you know, start up a new company? Do we want to try and find partners that already have a lot of experience in terms on the music side that can really tackle some of the things that we're a little bit less familiar with? Luckily, we've had a lot of companies approach us that are really open-minded to this. I felt when I first started out on the TatianaCoin journey that I was a little bit, I don't know. I was super anti the music industry, but learning about their challenges and meeting people on an individual basis, it's taught me that they're also looking for these solutions. They're not all, you know, some of them, sure, they're Weinstein and bad people or whatever, but there are a lot of really good people, but they have their own challenges that maybe an artist isn't going to really pick up on. But at the end of the day, this is a coin and a project for the artists, and I think that they need to be the first part of that chain. So I know that. Oh, I have a question. Okay, cool. I read your digital currency area on your website. Are you saying artist coins help fund artist pursuits, while Tatiana coins fund your music ventures? So Tatiana Coin is my personalized artist coin. I would say that other artists should make their own personalized artist coins if that's interesting to them and if it's okay in their country, right? I'm not giving any kind of advice. Don't come from me, SEC. But yes, you could do it that way, or you could do album tokens, or you can do different kinds of tokenization experiences. So a little bit of it, like a side thing, is at Tokenly, we've also helped with gaming projects. So yes, you can tokenize music and you can tokenize different experiences, but you can also tokenize gaming stuff. So one of the first projects that Tokenly did was Spells of Genesis, and Spells of Genesis would basically make these cards and stuff. And I hate gaming, but when I started thinking about if you can tokenize all these, because all right, back it up. If you guys don't play video games, I didn't know this either, but when you're playing a video game, sometimes people will like trade a little sword or a little shield or something, or like a bomb, whatever it is they're playing with. And there's almost like a secret market for that. But with tokens, you can create actual secondary markets for these in-game assets. And I think that that's really, really neat too. Even though I hate gaming, but the opportunities there are really, pretty impressive, I think. Wait, oh, we've got more questions. Token.fm says you are an ambassador. What was your role in setting it up? So, like I said, me and Adam have been working on this as friends and you know, colleagues since 2014. I'm not like on the board, although I've been working with them since 2014 more in an informal capacity. I'm their guinea pig, essentially. And I remember there was an article once and it like was titled "The Guinea Pig." I was like, oh, come on, guys, why are you killing me? But it's true, you know, I've been their sounding board, and I've been their one of their leading advocates because I sort of embody what this is for, and because I have a big mouth and I love talking about this stuff, and I like evangelizing cryptocurrency. So it's sort of natural fit for me to talk about this because essentially the music product is really driven by what I have experienced as an artist, and I've conveyed those experiences to the team. And I also tell them when it's too complicated and nobody's going to understand that. And you know, sometimes you run into things that you think will work and they don't. So it's been very experimental, but we've been on the journey together, and it's much cooler to get more artists involved than just me and a few others. So that we've been happily onboarding different kind of partners. Are there any specific books that you read that led to your view of the Federal Reserve? So I really like Liberty Defined, but I would say that the way that I really woke up to the Fed was through movies. So I saw America, Freedom to Fascism, and I saw Fiat Empire, and I saw The Money Masters. And I remember I didn't make these illegal copies, but someone made me these DVDs of these movies. And I remember going down to Occupy Wall Street. And the first time I went, everybody went, I went there and they like kind of look like bums a little bit. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go there. I'm going to look very nice. You know, my Polish mother trained me to look pretty where I go. And so I just went around. I'm like, hi, you want a free DVD? And I was trying to educate people about the Federal Reserve. So that was kind of fun. And I hope that I red-pilled some people, especially in that area, right? Because there was a lot of activity for people who were mad, but I'm not sure that they were directing their angst at the right people. Where can you design or create artist coins? Well, we can help you do it, but I think you could just make an artist coin on Counterparty. Like, I think I've actually made my own coin at one point, which is really something. I mean, the guys helped me with Tatiana Coin, the real thing. But I remember, I think, making my own coin, and it took 5 minutes. But again, making your own coin and then having the tools in order to sell it and kind of get it out there are two different things. So if anybody is really interested in that, I'd love to talk to you offline and maybe do an intro to the team at Tokenly. I don't really know anybody else who's doing artist coins. There's a lot of projects that are working on, artist registries, which is a really big thing, but I just didn't think that had the immediate impact that I was looking for in terms of the intersection of art and crypto. And then another idea for doing artist coins is maybe you don't do an artist coin, maybe you do a label coin. And that gets really interesting because, you know, record labels, they have problems funding too. So a record label coin would be basically, and I don't think anybody's done this yet. I hope maybe we'll be the ones because we've got the stuff to do it. But, you know, you'd have a record label that would do a ICO, I guess. You know, I get a little bit scared about talking about ICOs, but they would do some sort of a coin offering, and then that would potentially fund multiple artists. So you'd be funding the business that would be funding all the other artists, and maybe you could do different voting things. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of different options. And I think that experimental process is really exciting and also in line with what an artist does, right? You know, you've got to be a little bit of an outsider, of a rebel when you're doing this stuff. And then that's the same thing with crypto, right? Not just artists are like rebels, but the crypto people are also a little bit outside the box. So I think that convergence of creative and technology fun is really compelling, and it's a really good match. So we have no more questions, but I hope that someone asks me one. Otherwise, I'm just gonna riff. After this event here in Montreal, tomorrow I'm actually gonna be going to visit Ross Ulbricht in prison. So he's in maximum security in Florence. And actually that is something that I could talk a little bit about because, you know, I've I'm a very idealistic person, obviously, and working in cryptocurrency and working in the activist space, sometimes people use the things that you're passionate about to scam you or to screw you over in some way. And it really broke my heart because I thought everybody who has these values is going to be trustworthy and whatnot. And unfortunately, I found that that's not always true. And I was pretty upset about it, and it really made me want to quit. That's why I called my record Keep the Faith, because after going through all the torture, I still decided that this is the right path, even if it's maybe not the most appreciated path. It's the one that is, you know, mine, and it's sort of, I mean, not to sound cheesy, but my destiny. But nonetheless, I was still disappointed. So when I met with Ross, he's really taught me a lot about, I don't know, how to be a better person, really. When I first started writing with him, he says to me, he's like, Tatiana, you know, I don't want you to be upset about what happened with this or what happened with me. You know, as long as we're alive, there is reason to hope. And when you hear about hope from somebody who's facing essentially triple life, it really puts a lot of different things in perspective. And I count myself as a very, very lucky person for getting to know Ross, because he's made me a much better person. He's brought me a lot of peace in my life, and he's helped me, you know, kind of spread that message and evolve as a person. So it's really unfortunate when you hear him maligned in the press that he's this, you know, mastermind, evil murderer guy, when he's not a murderer. He's just a regular guy. He's super nice, and he's a very inspiring person. So if you guys want to get to know a little bit more about the Silk Road, I would suggest seeing the movie Deep Web. Also, Lynn Ulbricht has a lot of really great talks. So if you go to freeross.org, but if you want to get a sense of Ross himself, there's a piece in the blog section. It's a letter from Ross, and it starts with a poem of Invictus. And every single time I read this piece, I get really teared up because it really exemplifies the character and dignity that he tries to maintain, even though he's in this adverse situation. How far is token.fm in getting the word out? Sharing revenues is all about numbers. So token.fm we're in a standstill because we have to deal with the SEC thing. So it was, you know, going gangbusters. We have some partners. You know, we did a project with Soho Muse, which is a LinkedIn for creatives, with Milan Breton, who's a fashion designer. But as far as our art thing, like the music project, even though everything is built and artists are signing up and flooding it, we're not actually promoting it because we need that clarity from the legal team, or we need the right partner that will also give us that clarity, right? So unfortunately, we're like at a little bit of a pit stop. It's been a little bit frustrating for everybody, but in the long run, I don't want to end up in jail with Ross, as good of a friend as he is. And we want to make sure that we're not exposing artists to risk, right? So unfortunately, government is keeping us safe from music until we figure it out. Does Ross have regrets considering his sentence? I think that Ross doesn't want to be in prison. Who the hell wants to be in prison? And I don't really know what happened with Silk Road. None of us really know the true story. And unfortunately, as much as Ross wants to tell the story, he can't, because if he says anything and let's say he gets another trial, let's say that the Supreme Court petition is successful and he's given another trial, anything that he says can be used against him. So it's not like he and we sit around talking about, you know, Silk Road and the good old days. I mean, we don't talk about that stuff. But I think that, you know, sure, he regrets it on some level, right? But I think that there's a purpose to Ross, and I think that he feels that sense of higher purpose. I sort of tap into that. He taps into that. And I think that I've never seen anyone deal with such adversity with such grace and with such a compassionate caring for mankind, even though he's being screwed. Here's an example. There's a guy, Bridges or whatever, one of the two corrupt agents, the two that we know of. And there's word that there's more. But Sean Bridges, I think it's Bridges and not Forrest, but one of them, when he was supposed to turn himself in, he basically got caught trying to flee the country. He had all these guns and like stolen Kevlar vests and passports and cash. So obviously he was planning on fleeing the country. And I wrote Ross about it, and I'm like, that guy, you know. And Ross said, well, you know, I feel really bad for him. He must have been really scared, and it must be really hard for him and his family. It's like dead serious. And I'm thinking, screw that guy. I can't wait till he drops the soap. But, you know, actually, that compassion for other people is really, I think, I don't know, it's something that we should aspire to. And, you know, I guess I'm just saying that Ross is a really incredible person, and I hope that more people can find out more about that. And art itself is about that. Art is about inspiring people to get involved. It's about kind of, I don't know, I like art for a revolution. Maybe I'm just cut from that cloth, but you have to have a balanced conversation. It can't just be party dance music and, like, you know, popping bottles or whatever it is that's being shown as a value in traditional music today, or like pop music. And I love pop music. I like the influence that pop music has, but I like to use my music for, you know, to promote different causes. And I would love to see other artists going forward having that freedom. And maybe their cause isn't my cause, but that's not my judgment call. I'm looking for a way to empower people to make their own decisions. Okay, thanks. Great talk. I think I'm done. I think at 3:40 it's done. So if you guys want to check out my stuff, please go to TatianaMoroz.com. If you want to find out about my marketing company, I have a crypto marketing, PR. We do advertising and stuff like that, different kinds of things, community management. Please go to cryptomediahub.com. And if y'all want to email me, Tatiana at cryptomediahub.com or info@TatianaMoroz.com, and you can just email me any questions. I'd love to connect with you guys. And thanks so much for having me. It's really cool to be with the best in blockchain here. And I hope we do it again sometime soon. So thank you, everyone.